Hey guys, After here, welcome back. I'm gonna do a quick video today. Quick video on runes. If you watch any of my previous PvP 50 videos, you will have noticed I talk about runes a lot. It's because they're very important. Took me a while to learn about them, so hopefully this video might be a little educational, kind of explain the inner workings of runes and kind of what they do and how they do it, beyond the self-explanatory parts of it. So obviously runes are going to be sockets in your gear that you can basically put anything into. I shouldn't say anything. You can put a rune into a socket in your gear that will increase a certain stat of your choosing. First thing I want to get out of the way and tell you, it's very important that a lot of people I don't think realize. Perfect example here. I have an equipped epic chest piece. Okay, that has 3 rune slots comparative to a chest piece that is just rare that has 2. Okay, so obviously the epic is going to have more rune spots, which means it's going to be more potent for runes, right? Right, of course. That's self-explanatory. I also want you to see, though, the difference between the number 1 socket, which is the plus 21 insight, to the number 1 socket on the chest piece, which is plus 16 moxie. Both those runes, for all intents and purposes, is the same rune. One's moxie, one's insight, obviously, but besides that, it's the same type of rune. It's worth more in the epic piece, though. I don't think a lot of people realize that. So your runes that you put into epic armor are going to be more valuable and be worth more on higher end gear than they are on, let's say, blue gear or green gear or what have you. So, you know, getting that set of 1500 PvP gear not only is going to be better just for overall stats, but obviously you're going to have more rune slots, and those rune slots are going to be more potent on top of that. Okay, so now that we got that out of the way, let's talk a little bit about the runes and how they work and the different types of runes. So first and foremost, you can see I have a lot of runes in this gear already, so let's not talk about that. Let's go look at another piece of gear I have. So if I wanted to put 2 runes in this piece of gear, I would obviously unlock this. Okay, to unlock this is 7 gold, 47 silver. Not too bad. Okay, let me give you an example though. If I wanted to unlock these, it was significantly more. You're looking at probably like 20 and 15 or so. I mean, it can get expensive. So I mean, if you have a full 1500 rated battle gear ground set or arena or whatever, you're actually looking at paying probably well over a couple platinum to actually unlock all the spots. So just keep that in mind. So they're more expensive to unlock, but they are more potent. So I'll go ahead and unlock this this water. Is this water? Yeah, this is water. So let's just say I unlock it. Okay, so now I can put a fire and a water rune slot. Obviously the fire, it says max, so whatever rune I put in here is going to have its max value for this item. And this will be 78% of whatever it could be. So if this was, you know, 14, this would be 10 or 11 or whatever. And obviously if this item was an epic item, it'd be worth even more. So let's talk about creating runes. So this is fire and this is water. Well, right now I'm a healer, so let's say fire. Okay, so we have a bunch of different types of sets we can look at. So we have basic attributes, which I actually use quite a bit, whether it's wrong or right or indifferent. It's, you know, these are the cheapest, and to me they have the most value, right? So if I just want to put runes of insight into my gear, you know, I go ahead and select it, and I need 1 sign of fire greater, 2 signs of fire, and then 4 rune fragments. Okay, and I'd have a rune of insight and plug it right in there. It'd probably give me plus 14 insight. That's what I would want for my healer. Okay, fair enough. Let's say it was an earth slot. Okay, don't have insight here. Okay, so if I have a earth slot in my gear, you know, my main stats are basically insight, maybe focus recovery. Not an option. Okay, not an option. So I'd probably have to go health or grit. All right, so just keep that in mind, that, you know, different you know, elements have different things. So water is my main one, and I can actually get insight and recovery. Okay, and that's important that there's both there, because keep in mind, if you have 2 water slots, you can't put the exact same rune in both. So I couldn't have, if these were both water, I could not have 2 insights. You can only have 1 insight and maybe like 1 recovery. Okay, now the good news is I could, if I'm going, you know, gung-ho. We do know there's PvP sets and there's class sets, Elden Rune sets, which we'll talk about in a second, specifically for the Esper. Water. So water, because it's obviously an Esper type element, I'm going to be able to actually have a PvP set. So as you can see, there's only a few though. There's Supercharged Exosuit, which is for the engineers. There is the Shield Flex, which is medics, and there is this scatter shots, which I'm not sure which this one's for. I think this might be for, not sure, but neither here nor there. It might be for spell slinger, I think. Slight before sight is for the Esper. Okay, as you can see, I could basically put in hypothetically one. If I wanted to go full insight and nothing but insight, I could put in a sight before sight insight into one piece of gear, and then just an insight rune into the second water slot hypothetically. Can't put in 2 sight before sights of insights in one piece of gear though. And then as you can see, if you can get the sight bonuses, or I should say the set bonuses, you can get certain things. For this instance, it's landing a critical hit applies a blind for 1 second, blind hinders vision, and reduces strike through chance by 25%. So if I was an offensive or assault Esper, that would actually be pretty good. Unfortunately, I'm not a obviously offensive type of whatever Esper, so it's not as good. Now, it does have that secondary effect, which is landing a critical heal grants it a power for 5 seconds, which increases strike through and critical hit rating by 65. But again, to me, it's not that worth it. And then let me also kind of show you why. These require significantly more expensive runes. This Sign of Welder Eldon in my server right now is worth about, depending on the time of day, honestly, anywhere from 30 to 50 gold. Okay, so this slight buff to my healing, and again, my opinion, doesn't really do much, is not worth that type of difference. So I might as well just buy the insight itself and call it a day. It's more worth it to me. Now, each one could also have PvP attributes. So water can have defense, logic is going to have defense, life probably defense as well, I would assume. Yep. And then obviously fire is going to have something like, fire is going to obviously be offense, fusion, I think both. Earth, probably defense, I would imagine. Air, offense. Okay, fair enough. All right. What else? So you also have the general rune sets, which are, they're kind of strange. They're not as expensive to make, which is good, but there's a lot of randomness to it. So, I mean, you can go through here, and again, kind of everything kind of follows suit. So, I mean, if you can kind of get an insight from water, you're going to get insight in all these rune sets as well. So if I want focus regen of insight, increases max focus by 62, grants you a 50% chance to restore 8 focus when you land a critical heal. So for me personally, this rune set would be more potent for me to kind of find and track down than would, let's say, that PvP rune set that we were just looking at. So in my water slots, I can kind of put one of these two in and kind of try to stack this rune set up overall. Now, let's say I have some earth slots. Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't combine the two. So let's general here. Alright, so now you have different ones. You have preservation, protect, shield, weapon specialist. So I can't do both. Same thing here, can't do both. So this one's called focus regen. Honestly, I might not have focus regen at all anymore. Let's see, fusion. There's fusion. Fusion usually has like everything, so. Oop, it doesn't have anything general. So what's the last one left? Like this one? So here's a focus regen of only recovery though. Okay. So if I have an air slot, I'd probably want to slot that in there if I want to hit this max set. Makes sense? So you kind of want to always, so for instance, the Esper has mainly water runes. You kind of want to hit all of the class set that you want, or the rune set you want, and then any of the other ones you want to mix match as much as you can to hit all those stats, if that's the way you want to go. Again, this is pretty much the only one that I personally think I would like. I mean, again, different classes are going to like different things. Like Technophile Rune of Finesse, that would be perfect for an engineer, right? Technology damage dealt by 1% increases, and grants a 10% chance to apply expose, which when you land reduces the resistance by 240. That is pretty cool. I mean, if you can get 12 out of there, it's actually, you know, increases your damage dealt by 2% as far as technology damage goes, and gives you a chance to expose them by 480. However, I'll be honest with you, the engineer PvP rune set, which is an exosuit, is actually pretty badass, so I actually do that. I use that on my engineer. So we've covered all of them. The last one we have to cover is Elder rune sets. So these are obviously the epic ones. These are the hardest to get, and these are the most potent if you can actually find a full set. Problem is they're super expensive. So obviously as a healer, I'd probably want Life Giver or, okay, let's look at Fusion Gorge real quick. Increases support power by 24 and grants 25% chance to restore an additional 33 health when landing a heal on an ally that has below 30 health. Okay, that doesn't sound like a very big deal, but if you can get up to 20, which is extremely difficult, let me get this right out of the way. This stuff is pretty much built for high-end gear, usually PvE gear. But if you can get 20 somehow, taking a critical hit grants a 10% chance to deal 795 to 5 foes. Additionally, you will heal yourself and party members for the damage dealt. It's a pretty epic rune set, honestly. But not only does it take 20 of them, but it takes a very specific fragment, which Shadow Gorge fragment, which is hard to find. I have one, but they aren't easy to come by. It takes 2 Sign of Waters, which could hypothetically be worth a platinum by itself, and a fusion element, which is another 30 gold at least, just for one of them. So, I mean, multiply by that by 20, you're looking at like 50, 60 platinum worth of materials right there. Maybe not that significant, but it's not cheap. Personally, for the Esper and my healing, I would love the Life Giver rune, which, as you can see, increases your max focus, gives you a 50% chance to restore focus, as well as landing critical heal creates a 6-meter field lasting 6 seconds that restores health every second to allies. So that would be awesome, but again, super expensive to get. Not quite as expensive as the Fusion Gorge, but pretty expensive. And last time I checked, the Life Giver fragments were like a platinum each, so hopefully that goes down, but as you can see, these are pretty expensive. And again, these are going to differ from, so here you have Crystallized, Fusion, Life, and Magic Starter, whereas Fire's going to have Fusion Blast, Life Giver, Hard Rock, Magic, and then Tech Fire Starter. So there's a few different things there, basically. Again, even if you're just going to flat out put in the cheapest of the cheap, it's still worth it, guys. I mean, if you look at a normal PvP item that has 2 spots, you could still hypothetically get, I mean, that one's 13 Moxie and 10 critical severity rating. Obviously not the most opportune, but it's something, right? These are relatively cheap, too. I mean, a few rune fragments, which are really cheap, and then a couple, I mean, you can see I have 34 and 7. I mean, all this will probably cost you 10 gold or something, Just put it in there. I mean, it does cost to destroy runes, but obviously it doesn't cost much at all. Okay, so even if you just put the most basic stuff in there, put something in there. The rune sets, unless they're very, very specific to what you're trying to accomplish, aren't that great unless you're talking about the Elder Rune sets. And let's be honest, you're probably not talking about the Elder Rune sets, or you want to be watching this video. So at least put that basic stuff in there until you really find a class set or a general set or even the PvP set that you really want. But just stacking your main stat is really what you want to do. So for my Esper, it's all about the insight and the focus recovery. For my Engineer, it's all about the finesse. Just finesse. Just all about that assault power, guys. Okay? So thanks for watching. I hope it helped, and I'll see you next time.